Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if it's your first time here. My name is Mal and I am the owner and maker of Made by Manny and Mal. In today's video, we are going to be doing a really simple but really pretty tumbler design. I had a lot of fun putting this tumbler together and I hope that you guys enjoy the tutorial. As always, I will have a full supply list down below in the description box for you, along with some discount codes and links to all of my social media pages if you'd like to follow along with me anywhere else. If you like the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you are not already. And I think that's it. Let's go. We're going to start by base painting our tumbler. I've got two rustoleum spray paints here. I've got Sweet Pea and Vintage Blush. I'm just going to spray a very simple ombre on the cup. And while that's drying, I'm going to put together a custom glitter mix that we're going to use for part of this design on our tumbler. All the glitters I'm using are from Peachy Olive Glitters. I'll have them all listed down below in the description box if you'd like to try and recreate this mix. I don't have an exact recipe for this one. I kind of just went with the flow and went with how I was feeling and how it was looking. I get asked all the time how I come up with my custom glitter mixes, how I pick colors to go together, and really like what I do to create my mixes. And I just basically, the short answer is I don't know. I look at my wall and I just try and pick colors that I think would coordinate together. Usually I'll have a tone that I'm going for and I'll take a base color and I will most likely add like an opal glitter into it or something like that. I always try to mix cuts as well, so we have a lot of full coverage. We've got a fine cut, we've got a chunky in there, but really there's no exact science to it. I just kind of go with what I feel. So we've got our tumbler here and you can see I'm starting to build a glitter ombre on this. I've got my epoxy method glitter application rolling. So after my spray painted cup was dry, I added about 1 milliliter of epoxy to my tumbler. And I started off my ombre with In Carnation, which is a chunky cut from Peachy Olive Glitters. It is one of the colors in our custom mix. So I very lightly sprinkled that on the bottom of our cup. And then I went up to the top of the cup and did pretty heavy coverage with that custom mix that we just put together. And now I'm back down at the bottom of the cup. I'm taking Wanderlust, which is a mini chunky rose gold, beautiful color by the way. And I'm going to start to build my coverage a little bit more heavy. And I'm fading this color, as you can see, almost to the top of the cup. I'm bringing it up so it hits that custom mix. And then I'm going to go back in again with our custom mix on the top of the cup, and also I'm really starting to bring it down to the bottom of the tumbler. Now this technique is not required for this design. You can do any sort of base, any sort of glitter you want. You can do solid glitter, you can do one color, you can do two colors, whatever you want. You don't have to do an ombre. I just was feeling like doing one, so that's what I'm doing. So now I'm going in with my fine cut. This is Jules, another color that's in our mix. So essentially what I did here was almost like a cheat ombre. I put all of my colors in my custom mix at the top, and then I really only had to build a fade from the bottom, if that makes sense. So now I'm going in with my fine cut for the top. That was First Love, and now we're done. You have a really nice, easy, super flowing and blended fade. So I let that sit and dry for a couple hours, and then I went in with 2 coats of epoxy on my tumbler. Each coat was about 25 to 30 milliliters, and now our cup is totally smooth and shiny. If your cup is not smooth and you need to sand, I would recommend doing all of your sanding and then going in with another coat of epoxy on top of your cup. Because we're going to do a distressed paint section here, and you don't want to do that technique on a sanded tumbler, because when you go in to remove your paint, you're going to see all of those sand lines and the paint will get stuck in there, and it's just not a good deal. So make sure that your cup is totally smooth and epoxied before you go in for this next step. I'm taping off the section that we are going to add our little distressed paint area. I took the decal that we're going to use and held it up against my cup and made 2 little marks with a Sharpie just so I know how big I need this section to be. So I'm just going to mask off the rest of my tumbler and then I'll get into my spray paint layers. I'm going to use 2 different pinks for my first layer. You don't have to do this. I was really just kind of messing around to see what would happen, but I'm going to put those on kind of in random little splotches all over that half of the cup, let it dry for about 30 minutes, and then I'll go in with a coat of just regular plain white spray paint over that, let that fully dry, and then we'll be ready to get into our distressing. And now the reason we do 2 layers of paint on top of each other is when we go in and remove those layers of paint, the color underneath is going to kind of show through in some sections, and it just gives it a really cool dimensional, almost geode effect, if that makes sense. Of course, if you wanted to, you could just use 1 layer of paint. It's totally personal preference. So I'm using a combination of acetone and 91% rubbing alcohol, and I just got a washcloth here. You can use whatever kind of cloth or towel works best for you. I've got 2 sets of gloves on because working with acetone, your gloves will get disintegrated, so I always wear 2 gloves. And I'm starting with the acetone because that's going to remove the bulk of our paint. So I've got my Waterslide image again here, and I'm just marking off how much of a paint section I'm going to need. I want most of my image to be inside that paint section, so I don't want to remove too much paint and make that section too small. So what I'm doing here is first going in with just the acetone by itself. I'm going to remove the majority of the paint from the areas that I don't want any paint in. So you can go as distressed as you want to with this. The more obviously paint you remove, the more you're going to have like a cool grungy kind of distressed look. So you can see there as I remove the paint, the white paint on the top is going away, and we're also revealing a little bit of that pink paint underneath. So if you wanted to, you could even do 3 layers of paint, add a little bit more dimension. Totally up to you. You can do a whole bunch of different color combinations and fun things with this technique. So once I was done with the acetone, I went in with my rubbing alcohol next on my same washcloth, and I'm going to use this to clean up any of the paint that got smeared around by the acetone, and also clean up just the look of the distressing. And now you can see I'm going in and adding a few little extra distressed elements in the middle of the paint section. Again, that's totally optional. Just kind of do whatever feels right for you, especially based on the kind of image that you're using. Once you have a paint section that you like, you want to go in with your rubbing alcohol again and clean up all of the areas around your paint section to make sure that you don't have any remaining paint residue on your tumbler, because when you go into epoxy, you'll see all of that kind of like dull removed paint. So go in with just your rubbing alcohol on a clean towel. I used a baby wipe for that part with the rubbing alcohol on it. Cleaned up all of that excess paint residue, and then I was ready to go in and apply my Waterslide. Before I apply my Waterslide though, because this is matte paint, I'm going to give it a really good coat of clear gloss spray from Rustoleum, because when you put a Waterslide down, a clear Waterslide, you need a glossy surface so that your matte surfaces or your matte areas don't show through when you put epoxy over the top of it. The Waterslide image I'm using today is a hand-lettered PNG file that I created. It's available on my website, and I will have it linked in the description box down below, of course. I printed this out on clear Waterslide paper from Hayes Paper Company, sealed it with 3 thin coats of clear gloss spray from Rustoleum, and now I am dunking it in my little pan of lukewarm water to activate the Waterslide essentially. So I'm going to get the surface of my cup nice and wet to help me position the Waterslide exactly where I want it. And once the Waterslide is sliding away from the backing easily, I know it's ready to be applied to the tumbler. So I'm going to apply this in a way angled kind of that it fits in this paint section that we set up, because obviously if we just put it on the pink surface, the Waterslide is pink, so it's just going to dissolve into the background. and I don't want that. So I want the majority of my image to be within that paint section that I have. Once I've got it in place, I'm going to take a coffee filter and dunk it in my water and just brush out any excess water or wrinkles. Make sure that it is really smooth down in place and exactly where I want it. Once I've got it placed where I want it, I'm going to take a silicone makeup brush and brush out all of the excess water that I can so that it is stuck in place. After that, I'll take a dry coffee filter and really brush out any excess water, wipe it off, make sure it's totally dry. I'll let that dry for about 30-ish minutes, and then I'm gonna go in with my final coat of epoxy. I just did one coat of epoxy over the Waterslide, and we were all done. So here's the final result. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this is helpful for you in creating these fun little distressed sections on your tumblers. And if you liked the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Love you. Bye. Oh, look at me go.